What would you say the key is when Giannis does score like he did to still being able to win a game like that?
Yeah, I'm not really into coaching those guys. I'm trying to beat them. So I don't really know the correct answer to that. We're just trying to beat them.
Jay Crowder, well, he's got his own team to worry about, thank you, and it's quite a team. Bridges, Booker, CP3 leading the way for the Suns in Game 2. The Bucks did get a 40-plus point performance from the Greek Freak, but it wasn't enough. We'll discuss what more he could do. And mum is the word for Dame Lillard. What does the future hold for him and the Blazers? So be like Book. Put on your weekend's best. It's Friday. We've got it all coming for you right here on The Jump.
Welcome to The Jump, presented by Credit Karma.
Welcome indeed. While everyone else is getting on planes to Milwaukee for Game 3 this weekend, we are finishing things up here in Phoenix as the Suns have gone up 2-0 on the Bucks. Welcome to The Jump. I am your host, Rachel Nichols. We've got NBA champ Richard Jefferson. We've got NBA champ Kendrick Perkins. And then we have, two-time NBA champ Chris Bosch on the line as well. Welcome to all of you friends. Now, Chris, you can't see what Perk has got on his feet, but he's got the J1s on, and I got to tell you, very crispy.
Can we pan up?
No, listen.
Pan up immediately.
Keep the camera right
What happened to your knees, dog?
Hold on, this is my moment, not yours.
My fault.
Look, here it is, Rachel. I will spend money on Jordans, and I know I debate the GOAT conversation. I go with Bron, but I just feel like I shouldn't have to go buy LeBron James shoes out of the store. I hope you're watching the show. What you want to point out, man? What moment you want?
I was just wondering what happened to your knee.
I fell, man. I tripped over the sign, and I fell, and I hurt myself. What you want me to say?
It's a small hole in his pants. It's not a big hole. It's just a small little rip.
Honestly, that'll buff out, man. That'll be fun.
Oh, boy. We will discuss so much in the show, including maybe we'll get to Richard shoes. We'll find out. First, though, let's talk a little bit about last night. You'd be surprised how many things in nature can happen in just half a second. A woodpecker, for example, can peck at a tree 10 times in just half a second. Also in half a second, a mosquito beats its wings around 300 times. For humans, it's a lot tougher to do anything in half a second, although here in Phoenix, they seem to have mastered it. Yep, forget Steve Nash's 7 seconds or less. This year's edition of the Suns operates on an offensive principle Coach Monty Williams calls 0.5, which means that whenever a guy touches the ball, he has just half a second, or 0.5, to decide whether to shoot it, pass it, or drive it. 0.5 is what helped the Suns step on the gas and finally blow by the Clippers in the conference finals. And last night, 0.5 helped Phoenix go up 2-0 on the Bucks. Part of the benefit of this system is it moves the defense around to create more space for three-pointers. And indeed, in Game 2, the Suns took 40 threes and made 20, a franchise playoff record. Devin Booker in particular benefited. He had 7 of those made threes on his way to 31 points. But it was hardly just him. Eventually break things open for that DeAndre Ayton basket. Ayton even drew a foul on the play, part of an overall second quarter surge that led Phoenix enter halftime up double digits. I mean, right? It also frustrated, of course, Milwaukee's Giannis Antetokounmpo so much that we saw this in a timeout in the huddle.
At time was his message in that timeout.
That kind of leadership and growth Giannis showed there, it's notable. Being that vocal is definitely not something we would have seen him do just a couple years ago even. Although what Giannis did on the court last night, even more impressive. Just 9 days after hyperextending his knee so badly, many feared he'd just be out for the rest of the playoffs. Giannis played 40 minutes, putting up 42 points on just 22 shots. He was a particular monster in the third quarter, dropping 20 in that frame alone, which ironically was the most in a quarter at the NBA Finals since Michael Jordan scored 22 against Charles Barkley's Suns back in '93. Now, the difference, of course, is that NBA's team actually won that game. Giannis's team did not, despite getting close a couple times down the stretch, and now the Bucks will have to once again try to regroup as the series turns and heads to Milwaukee. After the buzzer, we saw Chris Paul walk to the sideline and hug his close friend Dwayne Wade, who had flown into town to take in the game. As Wade hugs CP, you can hear him say, "Two more, bro, two more." And that is indeed the crux of it. The Suns are halfway to a championship, or maybe we should say they are 0.5 of the way to a place where all those half seconds are adding up to possibly a very shiny trophy. So, guys, the story of Game 2 was the Suns dominating from the perimeter with all of that 0.5 passing, while Giannis and the Bucks had their way inside. So, Richard, what was working so well for the Suns in Game 2 as you saw them take advantage of that quick thinking?
Well, honestly, the Bucks, the way they played defense, and that's great defense that the Bucks played on that possession that you were showing. They're scrambling around. Everyone's touching the ball. Everyone's scrambling, running guys off the line. But the Phoenix Suns are just so good. And when you shoot 20 for 40 from three, that's difficult. But I also want to point out something. That is like the second most in NBA history behind 24 from a former Cavs team that I was on. But there's a commonality there. Shut up. I'm sorry. You know what? I was told that I'm not nice enough to you, so I apologize. So just hush it for a second. There's a commonality there. Both teams were against a Coach Bud-led team.
Right.
And so it's like 23s against Coach Bud, 24 threes against Coach Bud. These are the little things that they're talking about, in-game adjustments, running guys off the line. But the Bucks are trying their best. They just look a step slow.
Well, I mean, they have more than enough help, right? It's just how you're going to utilize it, right? And that comes on Coach Bud. And I get it, right? People saying Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday has to play better, and they do, right? But they also have to be put in position to play better. And I say that because when you go back and look at the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 5 and Game 6, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, with the ball in their hands, those guys were phenomenal without Giannis on the floor. So the Milwaukee Bucks have to find a way to get their big three going at the same time offensively. They're not doing that. Even when Giannis was dominating in the third quarter, what ended up happening is a bunch of guys were just standing around watching, right? So you have to find a way to get Drew Holiday going, get Chris Middleton going, get them easier looks where they're not just playing off of Giannis or being spot-up shooting guys and being able to have the ball in their hands to have some type of rhythm.
Perk is 100% right. The last thing I wanted to add.
Let Chris Bosh speak.
Oh, I didn't. Where's Chris at? Where's Chris? Chris is here.
I'm right here.
Oh, there he is.
You forgot about me already? Come on, man.
My bad, Hall of Famer. What you gonna say?
CB, his wife finally dressed him. He finally feeling a little swagged up, so he want to host the whole show. But go ahead, man. Go ahead and do your thing, CB.
Well,
don't mind him.
Well, I mean, look, if you're getting 60 points off of threes in the NBA Finals, you've got a good chance to win that game. The Bucks are going to have to do a better job of running them off the three-point line, like you guys were saying. But give the Suns credit. They got Book going after a game where we felt that he could have got it going a little more. He definitely responded. All those passes, of course, led by their captain and their point guard, Chris Paul. And just, I've got to give, recognition to Mr. Bridges, too. I think, 23, 27 points, something like that. If their role players are scoring 20-plus points a game and they're hitting 20-plus threes, I don't see another way that you can beat this team. You have to give credit to their ball movement. They had a great rhythm all game. And even when the Bucks cut it down to single digits, they never got rattled. They continued to execute. That was a huge three right there that put them in position back into double digits. And, it's just finding those ways to get their offense going. But you got to give credit to the Suns. They're playing well right now. They've got a lot of confidence. Their bench is in a good rhythm. But most importantly, the players around Ayton, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker are playing very well right now. And I think that supporting cast has lifted them up and helped them get to 2-0.
Yeah, shout out to Bridges particularly. He was just phenomenal last night. And look, Giannis was phenomenal too, right? I mean, he did everything or his part to try to carry the Bucks. We can take a look here. He dropped 42 points in 40 minutes, 12 rebounds. It was not enough, though. And here is what Giannis had to say post-game about how he was feeling physically. Again, just 9 days ago, the man hyperextended his knee. Take a listen to him here.
When I'm out there, it's not about testing no more. I'm out there, I'm, trying to play, try to help my team win in any way possible. I was out there both times, and that's what I try to do. I think when you start thinking about your knee or thinking about your toe or pinky or whatever the case might be, you just, make an excuse in your mind. You're out there, just play the game, do whatever you can, leave it out on the floor. No matter, what the outcome is, you just live with it.
Giannis, the only Bucks player with a positive plus-minus in this series. They are a minus 27 in the 21 minutes he sat, struggling defensively in particular. So, Perk, who is it who needs to step up? Who are we asking to give Giannis more help?
Well, I mean, it's the guys that you paid the big bucks to, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, and I believe they will. You go back and look at their track record at home, those guys have played phenomenal, but it's the others, right? We see P.J. Tucker not being able to knock down those corner threes, which took him out the game, and they really need him in the game to actually slow down Devin Booker and Chris Paul. So what ends up happening is when he can't make shots, then Bud can't afford to have him out there on the floor. Role players will play better at home, right? I don't expect Mikal Bridges, although I believe he's a hell of a young player. I don't expect him to go into Milwaukee and drop 27 again, right? He's at home.
Sure.
He has the fan base behind him. You know, they thrive off the energy, but this is why home court matters. This is why fans matter.
Well, and especially when you're talking about a Phoenix Suns that goes 20 for 40 from three. This is the thing. You know, P.J. Tucker, Giannis, Drew Holiday, and Chris Middleton all hit the same amount of threes. They all hit one. That's not going to be good enough here in the NBA Finals. They know that we know that. But you say this. You talk about it's the others, and you talk about superstars, or you talk about the role players playing better at home. Well, truth be told, I really think that Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, when you look at their splits and how much better they play on the road versus at home, I think that gives a better insight to who they are. We keep wanting them to be superstars. Well, there's only probably about 8-9 superstars on this planet, but they are stars. But their numbers versus home and road are staggering. So yes, the Bucks are going to play better, but ultimately, are they going to be good enough to win games on the road? And they have to do that in order to win a championship.
I mean, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, they know they have to play better. They have to play much better. I know we're in a part of the league where we shoot a lot of threes and we're in the fast-paced basketball, but it's kind of weird to see Brook Lopez out at the three-point line so much. I understand that that's there in the paint. Some of those shots and those long threes might come up a little short, so I think Brook Lopez definitely has to be more of a presence in the paint. They have to figure out some way to get him some touches down there and hopefully get some easy twos. Threes are great, but me as a player, I always wanted to see the ball go in the hole first. So if it's a layup, that would give me confidence. But they definitely are going to play better at home. I think it's just one of those situations where that's where you have to get to. We've got to get back home, figure these things out. Yes, P.J. Tucker, he is out there. He is their 3-and-D guy. He's going to have to hit 3 or 4 threes so he can stay out there on the court and be able to slow Book down.
Well, Chris, it's interesting because there's two separate kind of categories of players, right? These guys have mentioned the other two of Milwaukee's big three, if we're going to call it that, and then they quote other players, the more role players on the team. When you do have 3 stars on a team, but one of them is so dominant in terms of everything centers around them, the way it does with Giannis, the way it did with you guys with LeBron, especially starting the second year you guys were with the Heat. What pressure does that put on guys like you and Dwayne in that situation, or on Chris and Drew Holiday in this situation? Because it's not just straight, oh, you just go out and ball, because you have to work within the ecosystem where everything in that case was centered around LeBron, and in this case, everything is centered around Giannis.
Well, absolutely. I think this is where you have to lean on those habits that you've built throughout the whole year. You know, it takes 82 games, 72 in this case, but 72 games plus the playoffs to get to this point. You have to know who you are as a team. You have to build that rhythm. And look, the role players, you're just going to have to make shots. You know that Giannis is going to get in the paint. He had a tremendous performance, an all-time classic finals game in game 2. They know they're going to be open. And you're just going to have to step up, make plays, hit some mid-range shots, hit some threes, but more importantly, the ball has to go in the hole. If Giannis kicks out to his teammates, that's going to build trust. That's going to give him confidence to continue to attack. And, just as a role player, you just got to make it happen. So we'll see what they do. You do also have to give credit to the Suns defense, because they are playing very good defense, running them off the line and making it hard for them. But, in game 3, they're definitely going to have to make plays. It's not about basketball or game plan anymore. Throw it out the window and just make plays.
Chris, we are so happy you're with us today. We're going to give you a little segment off, but please, you will be back with us in the show, so don't go too far.